Hello again guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, a bit of a product preview for you. We'll be discussing the recently announced Fenix Airbus A320 for Microsoft Flight Simulator, and looking in a little bit more depth and detail at some of the promotional materials that have just been made available. As always guys, I do hope you enjoyed the video. If you do, please consider giving it a like and subscribing to the channel. If you have any comments or questions for me, you can leave those down in the comment section below, and as ever, I'll do my best to answer them. On to the product itself then, and as many of you may already have been aware, last week there was an announcement kicking around on various social media platforms and forums announcing a mystery upcoming study level aircraft for Microsoft Flight Simulator. Of course, this caused much speculation in the community regarding who the mystery developer might be and which aircraft they may indeed be producing. We now of course have the answer to both of those questions. It's the Airbus A320, and it'll be brought to us by Fenix Simulations. You may well be wondering who Fenix Simulations are and how they've managed to produce a full fidelity jet ahead of most of the competition. I know that I for one certainly was. Apparently Fenix is an all-new development team, however it is comprised of experienced developers and already has a number of pilot and engineering contacts involved in the project. Some of the team's developers are from other design studios, and this is presumably, at least in part, what has allowed them to get ahead of the curve and produce this visually stunning product right off the bat. The project lead of Fenix Simulations, Amir Thacker, has stated that what the team is really looking to make is a high-fidelity aircraft. The A320 will reportedly be a full-on in-depth simulation of the aircraft, with quality texturing and modelling, along with other functionality that makes the experience more immersive for simmers. As you can see from the screenshots in front of you, we'll be getting the more classic, older engine variant of the A320. We have the CFM variant on display here. I'm not sure whether or not we can expect the IAE variant also. Obviously this does set it slightly apart from the Neo variant that we already have available to us in Microsoft Flight Simulator. And on a personal note, I've always preferred the aesthetics of the older engine variants myself. But of course for many, an A320 is an A320, so it will be interesting to see how this stacks up against the competition. We already have the default A320 in the sim, the excellent fly-by-wire offering which continues to improve day by day. And I believe that FS Labs and Aerosoft are both intending to bring their Airbus products into the sim as well. So it sounds like we aren't going to be short on Airbus options going forward. Again though, one could argue that it's a little bit frustrating to see this doubling up, quadrupling up even in this case, of new aircraft coming into the sim. That being said, personally I am rather excited at the prospect of seeing a full fidelity Airbus coming into Microsoft Flight Simulator. Fenix Simulations are certainly making some big claims about what their aircraft is going to be able to achieve, and if it lives up to those promises, it's certainly going to be not only an excellent product, but a game changer within the sim. Fenix Simulations are touting their Airbus A320 as the most comprehensive and complete A320 simulator available to desktop consumers. They state that the entire aircraft has been completely custom built to provide a full fidelity simulation of the Airbus A320 within Microsoft Flight Simulator. The product will come complete with a bespoke auto-flight suite and full simulation of fluids, pneumatics, fuel flow, air, hydraulics, and plenty of other features that can also be expected. That in itself I wouldn't say is anything revolutionary, but their plans for the A320 certainly don't stop there. Fenix also states that the aircraft will have a full failure system. In total, 383 different failures can be triggered at any time. This doesn't even include the 280 circuit breakers on the aircraft, which have been fully modelled and all will be usable from within the flight deck. This obviously opens up some potentially very interesting opportunities with the product, and from a personal standpoint I think could make for some great content on the channel. Just to briefly show you how comprehensive the failure system is reported to be, we'll run through the list provided by Fenix Simulations themselves. Worth noting as well that this is not a list of features that they hope to include on the aircraft. This is apparently a list of failure modes already functional within the aircraft and currently under alpha testing. As you can see, there are a whole host of available failure modes within the aircraft, really covering a vast range of the aircraft systems. Everything from probe failures, oxygen failures, screen failures, engine failures, flight control computer failures, fuel pump failures, instrumentation failures. Really, you name it, and it seems as though the Fenix Simulations A320 will have it. It's early days of course, and the real proof will be seeing these functions in action, but certainly if the team do manage to pull off what they claim the aircraft can achieve, I think it will be quite a stunning product. It won't be the first flight simulation product, of course, that we've seen with a complex failure system, but from a personal standpoint, I always find it adds a lot more to a product when we do have such a failure system in place. As I say, it opens up a whole range of opportunities and really gives you a much more immersive and in-depth experience. Apparently there's plenty of work that has also gone into the custom autopilot and FMC. For example, FLS approach functionality has been modelled, and that's something that's relatively new technology even on the real-world aircraft. Alongside this, functions such as lateral offsets, equitime points, RTAs and step climbs are all included. Further to this, Fenix have apparently also implemented algorithms for determining satellite location and velocity in Earth orbit. So if you fly into an area with degraded satellite coverage, the simulation will actually model this and will degrade your navigational performance accordingly in the sim. I think it's fair to say that if these claims do hold true, then this aircraft really will be modelled in unprecedented levels of detail. The same obviously goes for the aircraft visually, as you will have seen from the screenshots so far. The modelling and the texturing of the A320 looks to be absolutely exquisite, Fenix again seemingly cutting no corners in either of these departments. Apparently the team has had access to a number of real-world aircraft and spent some quality time up close and personal with the Airbus. 3D scanning has apparently been used to recreate and produce a model that is incredibly accurate, and colour correction tools have been used to get the right tones and hues in the cockpit, and I can definitely say without a doubt they've visually got that spot on. It's really rather impressive. Fonts used on the displays are custom for the aircraft and vectored to match the pixel for pixel actual font locations used in the aircraft. Reportedly, the LCD screens in the aircraft will even simulate the same pixel density as the actual A320. And again, to my eye, the cockpit looks to be completely spot on, the screens look very accurate as do the fonts, and all of the texturing, the modelling looks to be really well done. If we were only talking about the texturing and the modelling, then I have to say this is the best Airbus I've seen in a sim to date. You may have noticed in some of the screenshots that the team has even gone to the effort of recreating the subtle backlight bleed that you get off the screens at specific angles. Again, it's really quite astonishing. Whilst all of this might sound very promising, again, if you're anything like me, you might be wondering how on earth such an aircraft is going to perform in the sim. Aircraft like the PMDG DC-6 can already hit the frame rates pretty hard, and of course with the A320 we're going to be seeing a lot more glass real estate in the cockpit, something which the sim really struggles with at the best of times. Well, interesting and quite promising news on that front actually. Reportedly, the aircraft systems will be simulated outside of Microsoft Flight Simulator itself, leaving the sim to spend time rendering the scenery, the weather and the other elements. This should lighten up the load on the sim and still allow for a comprehensive and in-depth simulation of the aircraft. In fact, to their credit, Fenix have already posted some screenshots comparing their version of the Airbus with the default and the fly-by-wire versions. So as you can see from their first screenshot, the default Airbus A320 coming in at about 34 frames per second on their machine. The fly-by-wire version getting about 27 FPS, and as we know that does give more of a hit than the default A320. And according to Fenix and looking at their screenshots, their A320 giving an FPS of 33, very much on a par with the default Airbus, again rather impressive. And reportedly this performance has already been achieved with an alpha build that currently has no optimization applied, textures have yet to be compressed, and lots of code is still yet to be debugged. So in theory the FPS should hopefully only get better as they continue to work on the product. And worth noting as well that all of these performance figures are pre-Sim Update 5, which is expected to add some significant performance improvements to the sim. So that just about covers everything that I could find on the product to date. All in all, a very impressive opening salvo from the Fenix Simulations team. Now, of course, it's early days, the aircraft is still in alpha testing at the moment, and it always pays to be somewhat sceptical of such lofty claims until they're seen in action. It certainly wouldn't be the first time in flight simulation history that we've been promised the Earth only for the product to fall well short. But going off what we've seen and read so far, it's certainly a product to look out for in the future, and a project that I'll be following along with great interest. Fenix don't give any details yet on a price or a release date, although they do state apparently that we may well be pleasantly surprised by the price, so make of that what you will. If you do want to find out a little bit more about the product, Fenix have both a Discord and a website. I'll try and leave both of those down in the video description below. I believe there will also be a Twitch stream coming up featuring Chewy94 and project lead Amir Thacker. They're apparently going to show you a little bit more of the product and answer any of your questions. A video showing the aircraft in action should also be available on the Fenix Simulation Discord in the coming days. So once again guys, a potentially exciting project, to my mind at least, and one to look out for going forward. Once again ladies and gents, I do hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider giving it a like and subscribing to the channel. Again, if you have any comments or questions for me, you can leave those down in the comment section below, and I'll do my best to answer them. And lastly, a very big thank you to my channel members. We now have Mark, Peter, Paul and Godseeker. Very generous, and I sincerely appreciate the support. Thank you very much, and I'll see you all again soon.